Inside one of the most luxurious estates of Manhattan, silence had become more powerful than wealth. The towering glass mansion, owned by tech billionaire Victor Langston, was known not only for its elegance, but also for the chilling reputation of the woman who would soon marry him. Staff members whispered her name with fear, and even longtime employees avoided meeting her gaze. She ruled the mansion with a cold precision that left no room for mistakes, no tolerance for weakness, and certainly no kindness. But everything began to shift the day a quiet, observant young maid stepped through the mansion's golden doors. No one expected her presence to matter. No one believed she would last a week. Yet within days, her calm courage would uncover secrets buried beneath wealth, privilege, and racial prejudice. Secrets powerful enough to shake the entire Langston empire. Before we continue, make sure to like, share, and comment if stories like this move you. And now, let's begin. Victor Langston's mansion stood as a symbol of absolute success. Rising above Central Park's skyline, it stretched across multiple floors of glass, marble, and rare imported stone. Victor had built his billion-dollar empire through artificial intelligence investments and had become one of the most influential business figures in the country. Despite his public image as a visionary entrepreneur and philanthropist, his private life remained guarded and mysterious. The mansion itself functioned like a perfectly synchronized machine. Every servant followed strict schedules. Every corner sparkled with precision, and every task was completed under the watchful eye of Victor's fiancée, Eleanor Hastings. Eleanor was widely respected in elite social circles, but deeply feared within the mansion. She came from an old-money family known for their strict social expectations and traditional views. Her upbringing had shaped her into a woman obsessed with order, perfection, and control. Employees often described her presence as suffocating. She enforced rules that extended far beyond professional standards, scrutinizing every movement, every uniform wrinkle, and every tone of voice. Most of the mansion staff were people of color, hired through Victor's outreach employment program, which was praised publicly as a step towards social equality. However, inside the mansion, many felt that Eleanor quietly dismantled the spirit of that initiative through subtle humiliation and rigid hierarchies. Workers noticed how she separated staff into invisible categories, assigning harder tasks to black and minority employees, while reserving lighter responsibilities for others. One rainy morning, the mansion's human resources manager introduced a new hire named Amara Cole. Amara was a young black woman in her mid-20s who had recently moved from Atlanta after her mother's passing. She had taken the job out of necessity, determined to support her younger brother's college education. Her background was filled with quiet resilience. She had balanced part-time work while studying social psychology, though financial hardship forced her to pause her education. Amara's calm demeanor immediately set her apart. She spoke softly, observed carefully, and moved through spaces with quiet confidence that made people notice her without understanding why. On her first day, Amara sensed the unspoken tension among staff. Conversation stopped when Eleanor entered rooms. Workers exchanged glances filled with silent warnings. The senior housekeeper, Ms. Rodriguez, tried to guide Amara gently, explaining routines while subtly advising her to avoid drawing attention. Amara quickly noticed patterns others had accepted as normal. She saw how employees were reassigned for minor mistakes, how surveillance cameras seemed concentrated around certain workers, and how Eleanor's inspections carried an underlying tone of judgment that extended beyond professionalism. The mansion itself felt divided into two emotional worlds. The upper floors glowed with luxury and celebration as Victor and Eleanor prepared for their high-profile wedding. Meanwhile, the staff quarters and service corridors carried tension, exhaustion, and fear of sudden termination. Despite the pressure, Amara remained focused on her work. She memorized routines quickly and treated every task with care. Her gentle kindness toward other staff members slowly earned their trust. Workers began sharing their experiences quietly, revealing stories of being written up unfairly, overlooked for promotions, or publicly criticized in ways that felt deeply personal. Yet, beneath all the tension, Amara sensed something even deeper. She noticed Victor himself seemed distant and distracted during his occasional interactions with staff. His polite gestures felt automatic, as if he was unaware of the atmosphere surrounding him. Amara didn't know it yet, But her natural curiosity and refusal to ignore injustice would soon place her at the center of a storm that no one inside the Langston mansion was prepared to face. As weeks passed, Amara's quiet presence began revealing fractures within the mansion's carefully polished structure. She observed how Eleanor's authority extended beyond managing household operations. Eleanor personally reviewed employment files, security footage, and performance reports, often overriding supervisors without explanation. One afternoon, Amara was assigned to assist in organizing Eleanor's private library, a restricted area rarely accessed by general staff. The room symbolized Eleanor's personality perfectly. Immaculate shelves, categorized books, and labeled storage files stacked with precision. While sorting cleaning supplies, Amara accidentally knocked over a folder hidden behind decorative volumes. Papers scattered across the marble floor. As she gathered them, she noticed documents containing employee evaluations marked with coded symbols. Several staff members had been categorized using labels that suggested behavioral risk levels. Shockingly, these labels appeared to correlate strongly with race and background rather than performance. Amara quickly replaced the papers, but the discovery left her deeply unsettled. Over the following days, she paid closer attention. She noticed how security reprimands disproportionately target minority staff. Surveillance footage was selectively reviewed when complaints involved certain employees. Even disciplinary meetings followed patterns that placed blame on workers without offering fair investigation. Meanwhile, wedding preparations intensified. The mansion hosted frequent gatherings involving wealthy investors, celebrities, and political figures. Eleanor moved through these events with flawless elegance, presenting herself as a symbol of refinement and discipline. Behind the scenes, pressure on staff doubled. Long hours, impossible deadlines, and constant inspections pushed employees to emotional breaking points. One veteran staff member was dismissed after being accused of damaging expensive crystal glassware, despite witnesses quietly believing the blame was misplaced. Amara struggled internally. She needed the job to support her family, yet her conscience grew heavier each day. Her education in social psychology allowed her to recognize systematic bias patterns that others could only feel but not articulate. One evening, while assisting Victor during a private dinner event, Amara noticed something unusual. Victor appeared frustrated after reviewing internal company news reports on employee satisfaction metrics. His company publicly promoted workplace equality and social justice initiatives. The contradiction between his corporate values and the mansion's internal environment seemed completely hidden from him. Shortly afterward, Amara discovered something even more alarming. A fellow staff member confided that Eleanor planned to restructure the entire household staff after the wedding, replacing many workers with private agency hires. The rumor suggested Eleanor intended to remove employees she considered socially incompatible with her future role as a public figure. Tension reached new levels when Eleanor implemented a new monitoring system that tracked staff movement through biometric scanners. The announcement created widespread anxiety. Workers feared their smallest mistakes could now lead to termination. Amara began quietly documenting patterns she observed. She recorded scheduling discrepancies, disciplinary inconsistencies, and testimonies from workers willing to share their experiences anonymously. She never planned to confront anyone directly, but she refused to ignore the growing injustice. Her actions remained unnoticed until one evening when Eleanor personally called her into the grand dining hall after a minor cleaning oversight. Eleanor's presence carried an icy authority that had intimidated countless employees before. Amara remained composed, though the entire staff silently feared what would happen next. The confrontation didn't end with termination, as most expected. Instead, Eleanor issued a formal warning, but her sharp gaze suggested she had begun viewing Amara as someone different, someone unpredictable. From that moment forward, Amara essentially became a subject of observation. The mansion's atmosphere grew heavier. Employees began distancing themselves from Amara, worried her presence might bring unwanted scrutiny. Yet, others quietly supported her, leaving anonymous notes encouraging her courage. As the wedding approached, media coverage intensified. The Langston marriage was being celebrated as a union of financial power and elite legacy. But inside the mansion, pressure, fear, and silent resentment reached explosive levels. Amara's private collection of evidence continued growing. She knew the information could destroy lives if revealed, but she also knew silence allowed injustice to survive. What she didn't realize was how close she was to uncovering something that would completely shatter Eleanor's carefully constructed authority. The turning point arrived during the mansion's grand pre-wedding charity gala, attended by influential business leaders and social activists. The event was broadcast across major media outlets, showcasing Victor's philanthropic commitments to equality programs. Amara had been assigned backstage preparation duties. While organizing catering logistics, she overheard Eleanor meeting privately with a legal consultant. Hidden behind a partially closed service door, Amara listened as Eleanor discussed terminating several staff members immediately after the wedding to maintain image alignment. The conversation confirmed everything Amara had feared, but what shocked her most was discovering Eleanor had manipulated internal staff performance records to justify those decisions. The consultant warned Eleanor that falsifying employment records could lead to serious legal consequences if exposed. Amara's heart raced as she realized the evidence she had collected might not only protect the staff, but reveal corporate-level misconduct linked to Victor's public equality campaigns. The emotional conflict overwhelmed her. Speaking out could destroy her livelihood and expose her family to financial uncertainty. Remaining silent would allow dozens of workers to lose their jobs under unjust circumstances. The gala began as a glittering spectacle. Cameras flashed. Speeches praised unity and progress. Victor prepared to deliver a speech about equality initiatives his company planned to expand globally. As Victor spoke, emphasizing fairness and opportunity for underrepresented communities, Amara felt the weight of contradiction pressing against her conscience. She realized silence would make her complicit. With trembling determination, Amara approached the event coordinator and requested permission to speak with Victor regarding urgent staff welfare documentation. Her request was initially dismissed, but a scheduling confusion unexpectedly placed her in Victor's private preparation suite. Standing inside the room, surrounded by luxury and authority, Amara felt the enormity of her decision. She presented Victor with summarized evidence she had gathered, focusing on objective documentation rather than emotional accusations. Victor's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief as he reviewed disciplinary patterns, manipulated evaluations, and surveillance bias data. The information directly contradicted everything he believed his household and company represented. Moments later, Eleanor entered the suite, immediately sensing tension. The confrontation unfolded in silence filled with emotional intensity. Eleanor attempted to dismiss Amara's findings as misinterpretation and unauthorized data handling. However, Victor continued reviewing evidence with growing alarm. Security staff hovered nearby as uncertainty filled the room. For the first time, Eleanor's control authority appeared shaken. Victor ordered an immediate independent internal review and postponed parts of the wedding planning. The announcement shocked guests, staff, and media outlets. The glamorous celebration transformed into a storm of corporate investigation and public speculation. Amara feared retaliation, but Victor publicly ensured her protection under whistleblower policies. The investigation quickly uncovered systematic bias patterns within the mansion's management structure. Additional testimonies from staff confirmed long-standing concerns that had been ignored out of fear. Eleanor's social reputation began unraveling as legal advisors and public relations teams scrambled to contain the scandal. Her upbringing and belief system, once praised as discipline, now appeared as discriminatory control. The mansion, once silent under fear, erupted into emotional release. Staff members shared stories they had hidden for years. Tears, relief, and disbelief filled service corridors. Amara stood quietly at the center of a transformation no one believed possible. The investigation's results led to massive organizational reform within the Langston estate and Victor's corporate structure. Eleanor stepped away from public engagements, while legal proceedings evaluated her involvement in employment record manipulation. Victor launched a comprehensive diversity accountability program that extended beyond corporate statements into measurable policy enforcement. Independent oversight committees were established to monitor workplace fairness across all company and household operations. The mansion itself underwent structural, cultural transformation. Staff members received leadership training opportunities, transparent evaluation systems, and formal channels to report concerns without fear. Amara declined media attention despite public curiosity about the whistleblower who triggered the scandal. Instead, she returned to her education in social psychology, supported by a scholarship Victor personally funded through a new employee advancement initiative. Her courage inspired workers beyond the mansion. Advocacy organizations reference her actions as an example of how systemic injustice often survives through silence rather than visibility. Her story sparked conversations about hidden discrimination in private employment sectors rarely examined by public accountability. Victor, once unaware of internal injustice, became an advocate for workplace equity legislation. His public speeches shifted from corporate success narratives to reflections on privilege, blind spots, and responsibility. The mansion gradually transformed from a symbol of silent fear into a place where employees felt valued and heard. Staff retention improved dramatically, and workers who once avoided eye contact now walked through corridors with quiet dignity. Amara's journey demonstrated that real change often begins with individuals who refuse to ignore injustice, even when confronting powerful institutions. Her strength didn't come from authority or wealth, but from empathy, education, and moral courage. Her story reminded everyone involved that prejudice rarely appears in obvious forms. It often hides beneath professionalism, tradition, and unchallenged systems. Confronting it requires uncomfortable truth, personal risk, and unwavering integrity. Years later, the Langston Mansion became known not for scandal, but for transformation. Educational tours and diversity seminars were hosted within its halls, using its history as a learning platform for corporate leaders and social advocates. Amara completed her degree and began consulting organizations on recognizing hidden bias patterns. She never sought fame, but her impact quietly reshaped policies affecting thousands of workers nationwide. Her journey proved that courage doesn't require power, it creates it. And her presence reminded the world that sometimes the quietest voice carries the strongest truth. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Black Voice Stories, where powerful voices and untold truths come to life.